The San Francisco 49ers and Jauan Jennings have struck a deal. Let's talk about it. Adam Schefter just dropped a tweet right now saying that the 49ers and Jauan Jennings reached an agreement on a deal that will add $3 million in playtime incentives to the wide receiver's contract per his agents Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. Now instead of earning $7.5 million this season, Jennings can earn up to $10.5 million. I'm Jason Aponte. This is an instant reaction to a deal being done on Wednesday, September 3rd, ahead of week 1 for the San Francisco 49ers. And let's just put it out there. This felt like this was something that they should have been able to get done a lot earlier. And the reports were thrown around about $20 million about how much he could really command, but the 49ers and Jauan Jennings weren't partners for a long-term deal. And what I thought was interesting was Adam Schefter went on to add to it, and I'm going to put it on the screen as well too so you guys can see it, about what this means in terms of incentivized, money and deals and everything as well too. Um, Adam Schefter says, once Jauan Jennings got healthy and began recovering from his calf injury, negotiations with the 49ers picked up and resulted in an agreement. Jennings turned down a multi-year deal to do a one-year deal and bet on himself. He is scheduled to become a free agent after this season. This was always his best course of action. Always. Last year, being the default wide receiver one based on all the injuries for the wide receiver group, and he balled out. Now, the 49ers contention was going to be, well, we believe in Ricky Pearsall. We've put in a 1 year, we've put a first round pick on him. We believe that Brandon Ayuk is going to be a part of our future. You're eventually going to be the fourth or fifth option. We can't commit long term money to you. But now this is perfect. And this was always my contention with Jauan Jennings and saying, look, man, if you really believe in yourself, if you really believe in yourself, then go out there and ball out again. Do it again. I think Jauan Jennings realizes what a lot of us are realizing right now, that the wide receiver room is rounding into shape, and now they have able-bodied receivers. The team is as healthy as it's been this entire offseason. And now Jauan Jennings may revert back to that role that he had of third and Jauan, which I believe is his most efficient role. I think Jauan Jennings deserves a hell of a lot of credit for how he played last season. I think the 49ers love Jauan Jennings. They love the edge that he plays with. They love his game. They're the ones who drafted him. I definitely believe that. But do they love him at a multi-year deal, which could get in the way of their plans moving forward in terms of developing Ricky Pearsall, keeping Brandon Ayuk, hoping that Jordan Watkins rounds into shape? No, I don't think that they believe that that was the course of action for them. So, Jauan Jennings asked for a trade and a new deal in hopes that the 49ers caved in the face of desperation based on all the injuries that they had and all the question marks. And it came time to go out there and practice, and he's ready to go. And that should have been our first sign that the negotiations were moving well. The thing is he's going into this role again of, yeah, you know what? They might use me for a week or two or three, but I'm never going to get a better opportunity to ask for a contract than now, which is why I always understood why he asked for the contract. But now that he understands, if something happens to someone in this wide receiver room, if they feel like they can't depend on somebody in this wide receiver room, I have a chance to earn an extra $3 million by catching the football, by running routes, by my snap share. That is probably the smartest thing in the world. And if you show what you did last year wasn't a fluke, wasn't a a matter of just by default you being the guy, and you show that you can do it back to back years, there's going to be plenty of teams that are going to be lining up to sign Jauan Jennings. I've said that also. The fits are Pittsburgh, obviously, so there could be, a run blocking third down guy there as well. He feels like a fit in New England. Mike Vrabel and that team, they're gonna go ahead and bring him in. Like, he's going to have a market. I don't think the 49ers ever dis disrespected him to the point where they said, well, nobody's going to want you. I don't think that's true at all, and I don't think they believe that. So now bet on yourself. Go out there, play hard, do it again, and if you do it again, then there you go. You have a chance to get paid. So I love this. It took a while for them to it's funny how the timeline of the injury, the group of wide receivers that were available, it felt like Jennings was trying to force the 49ers hand into some sort of panic move, right? But this was always the way it should be, and it should have been. And it should have been, hey, we'll give you this amount of money for extra amount of catches, all of those things, and you just continue to be the guy here. But next year, we're going to wish you well, and we're going to let you go get the bag somewhere else. And when you look around at wide receivers that have gotten paid, for sure, there's wide receivers that didn't deserve a lot of money. And I'm not saying that about Jauan Jennings, but I'm saying if they were undeserving of paydays, then Jauan Jennings is somebody who we believe should get a payday and will get a payday. He will have a substantial market. There will be teams lined up trying to bring him in. I think that's absolutely true. So I good for Jauan Jennings, good for the 49ers. It's over. You know, that's really where we're at right now. That it's over. So again, betting on himself, that was always going to be the best way to go about this, because you have to show that you can do it again. When you don't have more than 400 500 yards in a season, and then you pop for 975, and everyone kind of knows that it wasn't you ascending to that role and more you having to play that role based on all the injuries and you being a good fit and playing very well. By the way, I want to make sure that we say that playing very well for somebody who hasn't been thrust into that role. But the league understood that. And I think everybody knows that Jauan Jennings is a good player. You need that sort of edge in your blocking room, wide receiver room, and he is a complementary player. This is perfect. This is perfect. If you are in a position, again, where God forbid, knocking on wood, if God forbid, Ricky Pearsall's injured, Brandon Ayuk doesn't return, Jordan Watkins isn't developing, then you're in the same position again. And all of these incentives are reachable because you're going to be in the same position. Now, do I think that he wants that to happen? No, but you have to cover yourself because now you have a $7.5 million contract, which is not small change, and you can cash it in for a contract later on. So I really think this was the only real course of action for both sides. I understand asking for a price that is high, maybe understanding that you won't get it, hoping that they meet you in the middle. I understand all that. This was the one situation where I understood both sides. I didn't understand Brandon. I understood Brandon Ayuk's side. I didn't understand the 49ers side. I understood Deebo Samuel's side. I didn't understand the 49ers side. This one, I understood why the 49ers were hesitant to give him a long-term deal and why he was asking for the long-term deal. So I think now this is a fair, perfect deal. An extra $3 million if you're in the same position that you were in last season and you do it again. Not only do you get this extra money, you have increased your free agent market next year, which I still think will be substantial regardless of his snap share, regardless of his contributions, provided he plays through this season healthy. This was the perfect ending to this. And now let's just go play ball on Sunday. Now, how much will he play Sunday? We're not sure about that. But I understand why this deal was struck in this way. It just felt like if you wanted to rework this deal, you could have asked a little bit earlier. If you wanted to push the 49ers' hand, it had to be right after the season, right before the draft, before they add Jordan Watkins and sign Demarcus Robinson, or before they sign Demarcus Robinson, and then in the draft when they go get Watkins. That's when you really had to push the 49ers for this, because then they could have sent you to a trade partner in which they would have paid you. Now, once it comes up right before training camp, it's like, dude, this was ill-timed. And it was always going to expire once the games were starting, which Monday was a bonus practice, but the game was on Sunday. And it was that card was always going to expire. So I'm not mad at Jauan Jennings for trying to cash in. I think the NFL is a ruthless league. When they're done with you, they kick you out. They don't give you a cake and they don't give you a present. They say, "Get the hell out of here. We don't need you anymore." So I understand why players act that way, and I understand why the 49ers said, "Listen, you're not a part of our long-term plans. We have plans set in place." We drafted Ricky Pearsall to be the guy the next time. We got rid of Debo Samuel. We kept Brandon Ayuk. You're here. You're contributing to us. We have Jordan Watkins. We're probably going to draft another wide receiver next season. All of these things just were against Jauan Jennings getting a long-term deal. And that's why it was fine that this is the way that it ends. Now, was I particularly worried in terms of, drama? Not really. And it's not, I don't want this to come off as a slight. I wasn't necessarily worried that Jauan Jennings might hold out because one, I never believed he could, and two, if he did, it's fine. Ricky Pearsall is the future, and there's still George Kittle, and they were gonna have some bodies that were gonna be able to get them through the first few weeks before Brandon Ayuk comes back, before Demarcus Robinson comes back. Because let's just be frank, when you go through the wide receiver room, Pearsall and Ayuk are ahead of Jennings. Jennings is probably slotted in third. Demarcus Robinson and him would have been fighting for the same role. Now, let's not forget where his role is in the offense. There's George Kittle. There's Christian McCaffrey. That's why the Rashad Bateman deal always felt so good. Rashad Bateman's the wide receiver 2 for the Baltimore Ravens, but he's the 5th option in that offense. It's not going to go to the wide receiver 2 if it's not Zay Flowers. They still have Derrick Henry. They still have Mark Andrews. They still have Isaiah Likely. And let's not forget, Lamar Jackson makes plays on his own. So when you look at the depth chart and you're like, well, he could be wide receiver 2. You got to pay him wide receiver 2 money. He's the 4th option on this offense. He's the 5th option on this offense at times when it's fully healthy. And that's why we love him. Dirt and Jauan, clutch guy. I still believe that while his best statistical season was last year, the most efficient way to unlock him is to keep him in those roles, which would be third down when you need a play or when you need yards after the catch, and using him sparingly, using him in the red zone. That's really where you can maximize his value. Putting him out there over and over again, yes, it'll increase his stats based on volume, but it decreases his efficiency and it really highlights some of the flaws in his game. That's the part that if he goes out there and he does it again and again, God forbid, if he's back in that role, that means a lot of things have happened. Brandon Ayuk's not bounced back. Maybe Ricky Pearsall is injured. Demarcus Robinson's not effective. That's not a good thing. But if he goes out there and he puts up another season like that, or he puts up 1,000 yards, then he can really, really go get some cash. But I think what the NFL views him as, what the 49ers view him is as an ancillary piece and a extra wide receiver who does the dirty work, has a great attitude, is somebody that you want in your locker room, but is not somebody that you can commit long-term dollars to with this current regime and this plan for the 49ers and actually say, we have a plan in place. It was never the plan to give him a bunch of money. They were kind of blindsided by the trade request and the contract request, but this is perfect. And I feel great about this. And when you talk about drama and all that stuff, Brandon Ayuk wanted to be one of the higher paid wide receivers in the league. A lot of people believed he deserved it. A lot of people said he didn't. But I don't think a lot of people think or believe that Jauan Jennings deserves high-end money. I don't think so. And that's not a slight at the player. When you look at whatever the report was of $20 million. Now, let's just live in a world where that's true. I don't know if that's true. I want to make sure that I say that. I don't know if that request is true. It is just something that was said by Tim Kawakami. That $20 million range puts him in Mike Evans' Hall of Fame range. Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. Mike Evans is getting fitted for a gold jacket. Jauan Jennings is not going to get a gold jacket. Jauan Jennings doesn't have one 1,000-yard season under his belt, let alone the most in the history of any starting wide receiver who's ever started his career. So does that number look like it lines up with the correlation of the player? No, not at all. Not at all. But I don't blame him for asking for that. So again, this always felt like it was the right way to go. You got to give him his incentives. Go out there, do it again. Bet on yourself. If you think you're the man, bet on yourself. and go out there and do it again. And I guarantee you someone's going to give you a bag. Just wasn't going to be with the 49ers. Their timeline doesn't line up with it. Their money situation doesn't line up with it. And they have too many other receivers that they hope or need to develop over Jauan Jennings. And look, good for Jauan Jennings, man. I'm very happy for him. I love watching him play football. He does all the dirty work. He does all the things that you need. He does all those things that coaches yell about, and they give you coach speak, play through the whistle, and got that proverbial dog in him. All of those things are true, but it doesn't mean that you have to jump out the window and go ahead and overpay him based on a set of circumstances that were set up by injuries during the past few weeks. Again, not mad at Jauan Jennings because he realized the opportunity that was in his place. I just feel like it was a little poorly timed. And if it was timed before the draft and before free agency started, this might be a situation where Jauan Jennings is not even here at all. I would much rather he be here as a 49er. But if his whole intention was to get paid, he went about this the wrong way. Him, Drew Rosenhaus, and Jason Rosenhaus. Shout out to Jason Rosenhaus, by the way. I didn't even know that was his brother's name. They went about this the wrong way. Your timeline is off. Why would you do this in training camp when you already saw them draft Jordan Watkins? Ricky Pearsall's about to start hooping. It just didn't make sense. You had to go to them right after the season was over and before they started adding people if your pure intention was to get paid, which, sure, I think a little bit of him wanted to get that bag, but I think he understands who he is as a player also. And you have to be very clear with yourself. 15 minutes in here, instant reaction. Jauan Jennings gets an extra $3 million that is going to be based on playtime and incentivized contract negotiate and incentivized contract deal. So it's over. Sunday's the game. Kyle Shanahan says he's going to play. He looks healthy. It sounds like he's going to bet on himself, and this is absolutely true. One thing is clear: Jauan Jennings doesn't consider himself a 49er anymore. He's on a 17-game showcase for 31 other teams, 100%. This is Jauan Jennings' last season as a 49er, 100%. So again, I think in the interest of this season, hell yeah, thank you. The 49ers are obviously better with Jauan Jennings being on the field for them and playing for them, 100%. Anybody who says otherwise would be lying. But he's 100% bolting next season. And this is a bet on yourself season. This is I'm going to ball out and I'm going to showcase for everybody who I am because I have one more chance at getting a bag. He is 29 years old. These bags don't come out of nowhere. When you only have one season where you approach 1,000 yards, one under your belt, you have to do it again before anybody could even consider giving you a long-term deal. And I love him betting on himself because this is the best course of action. Sure, you would love to get paid right now, and I think I understand why NFL players do. When they do, it's because, God forbid, there's an injury or something. You just ruined your chance in free agency. But I think this was the right course of action and the way for him to go about it. Go out there, do it one more time, and then go to free agency and go get your bag. Guarantee you there are going to be teams that are going to run to Jauan Jennings based on the player, the mindset, all of those things. The 49ers are absolutely better for giving him this $3.5 million increase, which is going to have to be based on play incentives. That's fine. In their eyes, $3.5 million is fine because if he hits those numbers, it's only a good thing for the 49ers because that means he's playing well, depending on who you ask, because then it might be back to that situation of last year where he was the default number one. But it's only a good thing if he reaches those incentives. You pay him, you say thank you, we love you, go get your money, and that's it. We move on. Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, Jordan Watkins, everybody, and somebody else that we're going to draft next season, you're the future of this team. We're moving on in that direction. This was absolutely the right decision for both sides. Just wish it would have been done earlier. I mean, it could have been the same thing from last season when Jauan asked for another deal. They increased his incentives, they gave him a little bit extra guaranteed money, and he hit all those things. So, again, adding the $3.5 million, it doesn't really change anything when it comes to the 49ers. It doesn't change anything when it comes to their salary cap plans. But it's absolutely the right thing to do for a player that they do love. And you heard Kyle Shanahan say, I hope he's here for a long time. I think he does believe that. I don't think he believes it'll happen. I think he really does want him back. I don't think he thinks it's going to happen. But the best way for Jauan Jennings to get paid was going to be do it again, show everybody that it wasn't just because you were being force fed the targets as the number one receiver for much of the season, and show that you are a receiver that's capable of doing it again. The hardest thing to do is to do it once. The next hardest thing and the main hardest thing is to do it twice. Do it again, and you'll get yourself a bag. I can see New England. I can see Pittsburgh. I can see a lot of teams going and saying, you know what? We need that type of player in our building who's going to do the dirty work, who's going to embody this entire offensive edge that we want to put out there. You know, that type of energy that he brings is contagious. How could you be a blocker, a wide receiver blocker, and watch Jauan Jennings send somebody into the Gatorade bucket and not say, man, I've really got to get up there and I've got to do my thing, because Kyle sees it, everybody else sees it, and it's infectious. So, you know, a lot of teams are going to want that, and they're going to want him to buy in on that. So I'm probably going to get out of here. I was just going to speak on this real quick that, you know, again, a $3.5 million incentive addition to his contract just means, hey, listen, if you're in the same situation as last year and you go out there and you have to play again, you're in a position where you can make yourself money while showcasing yourself and getting yourself a bag. This is the perfect deal for both sides. Both sides. I am thrilled that it's over. Thrilled that we can stop talking about it, and now we can put a bow on it. And on Wednesday, September 3rd, 10:48 Eastern Time, the San Francisco 49ers and Jauan Jennings have an agreement, and they can look straight towards Sunday, which is right around the corner, and football's around the corner tomorrow. But the 49ers need to start fast, and they realize that their chances of doing anything this season are greatly heightened by Jauan Jennings being on the field. I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Bunch of content coming. Tomorrow, me and Peacock. Friday, Dieter and me. Sprint ride option with a Seahawks content creator. So much going on right before game day. So make sure you like, subscribe, notifications, all of that. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Jauan Jennings is a 49er officially for this season. No questions asked. And as always, go Niners.